What's going on, guys? It's the Hunter Project here. Welcome back to my channel. So with the leaks and rumours starting to increase rapidly for the Resident Evil 4 remake, I thought I'd create a video on a few of the biggest leaks that are quite impactful changes to the original, and of course whether or not these are positive changes are relatively subjective to each person. So without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into it. So the first big change that is rumoured to come about is the addition of Claire Redfield, who was not present in the original at all, making it quite a massive implementation considering she is a main character of the series, starring as the main protagonist of Resident Evil 2 and Revelations 2. The only specifics that we do know are that her character model and voice actor will be the same as those used in Resident Evil 2 Remake. So as for how much of the game she will be in is yet to be discovered. However, my personal thoughts are that she will be either in the game extremely early in the story or appear at the end in some capacity, as I don't think they would fully force her into the general outline of the story for Resident Evil 4 with all the stuff that Leon goes through in the original. I don't think they would throw her in there, but they might do, you never know. They could just mix up the game a lot, but I'm guessing they don't want to tamper too much with everything, but they do want to make the game feel new, so it is surprising to veterans and all the other people that have already played the game. But you never know, they could throw her into the story with a very prominent role, and possibly even have her an intersecting story similar to RE2 with Leon, where they make a massive change to the original and have two campaigns that go hand in hand together, similar to how Separate Ways is, but now there will be three storylines. I'm not sure if they would go in this way of when they're developing it, but personally I don't think they will. But you never know. We don't know too much confirmed information, so I can't really say this is very likely, this isn't very likely. But just from off the top of my head, I don't think they would add a third campaign on top of Separate Ways, which has already been confirmed that they will have Separate Ways, Mercenaries, and Assignment Ada. There is a little bit of information that could confirm Claire's late appearance, as there is a post-credit scene that they're said to be, that is supposed to be right before the events of the Resident Evil Infinite Darkness series, which is the Netflix animated show, which was demanded by Netflix in the contract in a form of advertisement apparently. Of course, once again, this is not confirmed information, but it is what was rumoured to be the case. So if that is the case, I think that would make sense for Claire to appear at the end of the game, and that would tie into the post-credit scene, which would tie into the Infinite Darkness TV show. But moving on from Claire Redfield, we have the CP shop. So if any of you have played Resident Evil 3 Remake or Resident Evil Village, you will be familiar with what the CP shop is, and this is basically where you get all your extra content type things. Instead of challenges, instead of speedrunning the game or completing the hardest difficulty to get certain unlocks, here you buy the item. So if you wanted infinite ammo on a specific gun, you would spend 5,000 CP, 6,000 CP, depending on what gun it is. And of course the infinite launcher and all the other really high tier stuff are much more expensive, and depending on how well you completed the previous playthrough, so if you completed on the highest difficulty, you'll get a lot more points than if you completed it on the easiest, and so on. And I think that this is fine, but I do hope that they do lock some of the purchases under tasks, and I think that way they get the best of both worlds. You can still have those challenges to challenge the player, of course, and then when the player completes that task, they're able to have the ability to actually buy it with points, rather than just spamming very easy and then just having enough time on their hands to do the easy mode to unlock the infinite launcher and then go through the hardest difficulty. Not too sure how they will take this into account, but it's not too big of a change, but it is a change nevertheless. We also have the Merchant and Chainsawman, who are said to have bigger roles. So once again, it is unclear how big these characters will be or how their characters will be used, but they are said to have bigger roles in the story. For the Merchant, I could definitely see him more of a story related implementation, similar to how the Duke was, as I don't think that would be too hard to do, and at least make it more clear that he is aware of all the crazy stuff going on and is not just randomly showing up everywhere and just plop down, not aware of anything, just selling you guns, selling anyone guns who comes by him. And as for the Chainsawman, I think we could possibly see a Mr. X type appearance, like possibly even just during early game, or maybe throughout the entire story, I don't know, but something of a similar nature I think would be pretty cool if you just have the chainsaw guy randomly appear every so often trying to hunt you down. I would love to see what you guys think of this, like how you would want to implement the Chainsaw Man, as well as how the merchant could have a bigger role. How would you guys like to see it executed? And I look forward to reading what you guys have to say. And finally, we have the big change related to cameras, and that is the addition of the first person camera, while still including the classic third person camera. This change will be extremely impactful, at least in my opinion, as I think it will change the flow of combat and make it more engaging. And obviously I think the first person mode as well won't be just locked boots to the ground. You will be able to move around while shooting. I'm guessing it's going to be like Resident Evil 2, of course the Resident Evil 2 remake. And I think overall, I think it will make it a lot more just fluid and more engaging of an experience, especially in terms of combat. And we've seen the potential of this in terms of like the first person mode in the Quest 2 VR version of the original. And personally, I'm not too bothered about most of these changes. I think we've all, or most of us, probably the people who are interested in the remake, have played the original enough times that it warrants a nice mix, like, of new features and just redefining of its story and gameplay. But I do hope they are able to maintain the general outline and the feeling of the original, as I don't want them to change too many iconic things, specifically like the map locations, which in Resident Evil 3 remake, they did alter it slightly, like, not even slightly, I think they did alter it quite a lot, especially the clock tower, which I think they've removed completely. You kind of go to the clock tower, but it's not the same as it was in the original, so I hope they don't tamper too much with all like the iconic set pieces of what happens in the storyline, but hopefully they are able to please all types of fans, new fans as well as old fans, as of course I'm sure there are people out there who are not a big fan of the original, as it is more of a 2000s game rather than a newer like type of entry. But obviously a lot of people will probably agree with me if I say that it does still stand up today. A lot of people are still playing Resident Evil 4 to this day, so it's definitely not like a badly aged game. It's just, maybe the dialogue is, but as for the gameplay and just the fun to be had, I don't think it's that outdated, but it definitely could use a remake, I think. Like, I know there's a lot of videos saying that it doesn't need a remake, but I think it can do with a remake. It's not going to damage the game in any way. I think there's definitely enough improvements to be made that it warrants a remake. And of course Resident Evil 5 is already relatively good looking and it's relatively well fleshed out, so I don't think they need to do any more remakes after this for the numbered entries, but of course time will tell if they decide to do so. But with that said guys, that does bring us to the end of this video. If you did enjoy, a like would be extremely appreciated. It does help out the channel a ton. And subscribe for a lot more Resident Evil content. And if you're a fan of Monster Hunter, which is a fellow Capcom franchise, then there is a lot for you here too. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.